Samantha was one missed paycheck away from an eviction notice when she spotted the wallet on the BX12 bus seat. Inside, a thick stack of $100 bills, 3 credit cards, worn leather that smelled like years in someone's pocket. Then she saw the photograph. A young black woman cradling a baby, the edges soft from too much handling.
Something about that photograph made her stomach knot. The way that mother held on.
She thumbed the cash. $3,200. Enough to stop the eviction cold. But the photograph refused to be ignored.
Not this time. She read the address on the license. The Bronx. She'd walk it if she had to.
The bus lurched to her stop. Rain streaked the windows like tears she hadn't let herself cry. She stepped off into the drizzle, wallet clutched in both hands.
I know what it feels like to lose everything. I can't do that to somebody else.
She didn't know that ringing that doorbell would unlock a secret her own mother had buried 12 years ago. The address on the license led her to a narrow brownstone with peeling green paint. She climbed the stoop, each step a commitment to see this through. She pressed the brass bell. The chime echoed deep inside like a summons dredging up old ghosts. The door swung open. An older black man stood in the threshold, navy cardigan, coffee mug tilting in his hand, his face collapsing with recognition.
Samantha Warren.
He said it like a man who had been holding her name in his mouth for 12 years, afraid to swallow it, afraid to speak it out loud.
How does this stranger know my full name?
Her hand, still extending the wallet like an offering, began to tremble. The rain soaking her shoulders turned to ice.
You found my wallet.
Who are you? Why do you know my name? I've never seen you before in my life.
Come inside, Samantha. I've been looking for you for 12 years. There's something you need to see.
She stepped inside, the door clicking shut behind her. The hallway was dim, the air thick with something she couldn't name, mothballs and old secrets. He led her to a cluttered living room. Bookshelves, framed photos, a sagging couch. He gestured for her to sit, but she stayed on her feet.
I know you have questions. Let me show you something first.
He reached into his back pocket and pulled out his own wallet. The leather was cracked in the same pattern, the same brand.
Open it.
She pulled out the photograph. The same tender young mother, the same baby swaddled in yellow, and on the back, her own mother's handwriting. Renee and Samantha, 2011.
That's my face. That's my mother's handwriting. Why does a stranger have this? Who are you? And why do you carry a picture of me from before I could walk?
My name is Anthony. I've been looking for you, Samantha, since the day they took you away.
She sank onto the couch, the photograph pressed to her chest, her mind a storm of fear and impossible hope.
I was your mother's caseworker, Child Protective Services. I am the one who placed you in foster care when you were 6.
The words hit Samantha like a shove. Her fingers dug into the couch cushion. For a moment, she was 6 again. Empty doorway, a stranger's hand closing on her shoulder.
You put me in the system. You took me away.
Her fist clenched around the wallet, knuckles bone white. The $3,200 inside suddenly felt like 30 pieces of silver.
You destroyed my family, and now you want me to sit here and listen?
Please, wait. I've been carrying that photograph for 12 years because I needed to give it back to you.
Carrying a picture doesn't undo anything. You left me in that place for years. You don't get to apologize.
Anthony's mouth opened, but no sound came. He looked at the floor the way a man does when he's already convicted himself.
I am done here.
She snatched her bag from the floor and moved toward the hall, the wallet still clamped in her fist like evidence of a crime he committed a decade ago.
Samantha, please. The cash in that wallet wasn't mine. I withdrew it this morning for someone else.
She froze, one hand on the doorframe, the other still clamped around the worn leather. The photo in her pocket felt like it was burning.
That money you found, $3,200. It was for your grandmother's funeral.
My grandmother? I don't have a grandmother. My mother was my only family.
Her name was Ella. I finally tracked her down 3 weeks ago. She died before I could bring you to her.
The cash she'd found on the bus wasn't a temptation. It was a burial fund for a woman whose name Samantha had never heard, whose blood ran in her veins.
Grandmother. Someone else I was supposed to have. Another name I never got to learn.
I was going to find you after the service. Bring you the wallet myself. I swear, Samantha, I never meant to lose it.
Her legs gave out. She lowered herself onto the couch, the wallet now a weight she couldn't carry alone.
Tell me everything. You owe me that much.
He crossed to a wooden cabinet near the bookshelf. His hands moved with the caution of a man retrieving something that had waited too long.
He set a shoebox on the coffee table between them. The cardboard was mottled with age, the lid taped down like a wound.
Your mother, Renee, wrote you letters while she was in rehab. I found them buried in an old case file, 6 years after she passed.
Inside, dozens of envelopes, yellowed and sealed, her mother's looping cursive on every one. The stack was thick, years of silence made paper.
Letters? She tried to contact me? All those years I thought she just left.
The caseworker before me, my predecessor, buried them. He never forwarded a single one. I only found them by accident, years after I retired.
My whole childhood, I thought nobody wanted me. And there were letters. Right there in a file cabinet.
She reached out, then pulled back, afraid to touch them. She hadn't heard her mother's voice since she was 6 years old.
They're yours. All she ever wanted was for you to know. She fought to come back.
Samantha stared at the box. The letters sat quiet, as a heart that had stopped beating, waiting for her to bring them back to life. She lifted one envelope from the box. The paper crackled, fragile as a dried leaf. Her mother's handwriting looped across the front.
Reads aloud with a trembling voice. My baby Samantha, I am so sorry I keep failing you. I am getting clean. I swear I'll come back.
Her voice snapped on, "Come back." She pressed the page to her lips, trying to hold in a sound that had been trapped for 12 years. Anthony stood frozen by the bookshelf, a single tear slipping into his salt and pepper goatee. He didn't dare move.
Reads more of the letter. I dream about your face every night. I miss the way you used to hold my finger. Love, Mama.
She couldn't go on. The paper trembled. The word Mama had unlocked a door she'd nailed shut when she was 6.
She really tried. All those years I felt abandoned, and she was fighting to get back to me.
There are more. Samantha. She wrote one every month for over a year. I have them all.
Samantha looked down at the shoebox, the stack of envelopes. A whole year of her mother's voice, and she had only just begun to hear it. And for the first time, the silence that had followed her since childhood began to fill with something that sounded almost like mercy.
She looked up from the letter, her voice frayed and raw. Why did you keep all this? The photo, the letters. Why carry me for 12 years?
Anthony stepped closer, his hands trembling at his sides. His mouth opened, closed, then opened again.
I broke a promise. Your mother made me promise I'd look after you. And I failed her and you.
The word failed cracked out of him like a bone snapping. He'd never spoken these words aloud, not to a living soul.
A promise to a drug addict. You expect me to believe that?
She wasn't just that. She was young, scared, and she loved you more than her own life. I saw it in her eyes the day they made me take you.
He reached into his pocket, pulled out the small folded photograph, the same one, and held it out like an offering that had been refused for a decade.
I've carried this in every wallet since that day. I told myself if I ever found you, I'd give it back and maybe you could understand.
You wanted to fix it.
Anthony didn't nod. He just stood there, a man who had spent 12 years trying to give away the only piece of a shattered family he had. Anthony withdrew a folded paper from his cardigan pocket, a funeral program, creased along the center fold, the edges soft from handling.
I went to her service this morning. The pastor read about her garden, how she grew roses for 40 years.
He placed the program in Samantha's hands. She opened it slowly, her breath catching at the photo of an elderly black woman with kind eyes and a gentle smile.
This is my grandmother. She looks like my mother. the same cheekbones, the same mouth.
Her name was Ella. She never stopped looking for your mother, and she never knew about you until I found her 3 weeks ago.
Where is she buried?
Woodlawn Cemetery. I'll take you there right now.
Number, I need to go alone. You've carried enough. This one I carry myself.
She gathered the shoebox, the letters, the program. The wallet she left on the table, its purpose fulfilled. The photograph she tucked into her jacket. And as she moved toward the door, Anthony didn't follow. He just watched her go, a 12-year weight shifting quietly from his shoulders. The rain had stopped. The air was clean and cold as she walked to the bus stop, the shoebox pressed to her chest like a life raft.
12 years of silence. And now they're all in this box. Every word she ever wanted to say.
She opened the funeral program again, running her thumb over the photo of Ella, the grandmother who grew roses and never knew her name.
40 years of roses. And I was 3 boroughs away the whole time.
She pulled the worn photograph from her jacket, the one that had been in 2 wallets now. It felt heavier than the box.
I am going to meet your mother, Mama, and I am bringing you with me.
The bus groaned to a stop near Woodlawn. The iron gates of the cemetery rose pale against the gray sky. She stepped off the bus, her sneakers pressing into damp pavement, and walked toward the entrance. Each step felt like a question she hadn't yet formed.
What do you say to a grandmother who never even knew you existed?
She pushed through the gate, the shoebox steady under her arm. Ahead, rows of headstones waited in the damp silence. She walked the narrow aisle, eyes scanning every name. Her sneakers sank into rain-softened earth that smelled like wet leaves and old endings. Then she saw it. Ella Warren. The headstone was fresh granite, flowers still heaped from the morning service, roses, dozens of them.
40 years of roses, and I never saw one. The pastor wasn't exaggerating.
She knelt on the damp grass, the cold seeping through her jeans. One hand reached out and pressed flat against the stone, fingers tracing the engraved name.
I am sorry I never got to meet you, Grandma Ella. I just learned your name today, my mother. You're Renee. She loved me. She wrote me letters. I brought them here so you could finally meet us both.
She reached into her jacket and pulled out the worn photograph, the same one that had ridden in 2 wallets, carried for 12 years, handled by so many desperate hands. She laid it gently among the roses, the baby's face turned toward the sky.
Now you have her. Take care of her, Grandma.
She rose slowly, the shoebox still under her arm. But something had shifted. A weight she'd been carrying since childhood now lay in the grass among the roses. She didn't stand yet. Instead, she lowered herself onto the bench near the grave and opened the shoebox again. She pulled out a different envelope. The address on the front was not her name. It was for someone named Ella.
Reads aloud. Dear Mama, I wish you could hold Samantha. I am trying to get better so I can bring her home to you.
Her voice cracked, but she kept reading, each syllable an offering to the 2 women who could no longer speak for themselves.
Reads. I am sorry I haven't written in so long. I think about you every day. Love, Renee.
She folded the letter carefully, still crying, and placed it beside the photograph on the grave. For a long moment, she just knelt there. The letters and the roses and the weight of a family she was finally claiming. Then from behind the clouds, a thin shaft of light broke through, and she looked up.
Maybe she heard me. Maybe they both did.
She stood slowly, the shoebox lighter now. The sun was still pale, but it was there, and for the first time in years, so was she. She pushed open the door to her apartment. The familiar sigh of the hinges sounded heavier, older than it had this morning. Malik abandoned his crayons at the table and thundered across the room, his arms locked around her waist. For a long moment, she just stood there, one hand buried in his tight curls, the other steadying the shoebox. Then she set the box on the kitchen table and sat down. The funeral program slid from her pocket and landed beside it.
Mommy, are you okay? Your eyes look all red.
Yeah, baby. I am okay. I just had to go see somebody. I tell you about it later, okay?
She pulled the program close, hiding the photograph from his view. Not tonight. This was too big for a child's bedtime.
What's that paper?
It's a program for a lady who grew roses. A very special lady.
She folded Malik into her lap, and he settled there, as if he knew she needed an anchor. The shoebox stayed on the table. After a long silence, Samantha reached into the shoebox and lifted out the photograph, the one from Anthony's wallet, the one she'd almost walked away from.
Malik, come look at this. I want to show you someone very important.
She held the creased photograph between them. The young woman with the tired smile, the baby wrapped in yellow.
This is your grandma, and this baby right here, that's me.
That's you? You were a baby? But who's the lady?
Her name was Renee. She was my mama. Your grandma.
How come she never come see us?
She couldn't, baby, but she loved me very, very much. She wrote me letters. I am going to read them all to you someday.
Malik traced the baby's face with his small finger, as if trying to connect it to the woman in front of him. Samantha pressed her lips to his hair. She wasn't hiding anymore. The story was out, and it was theirs to keep. That night, she pulled the covers up to his chin and switched on the rocket ship nightlight.
Mommy, what do all those papers say? The ones from your mama.
Those are letters she wrote me when I was little. I'll read them to you when you are a little bigger, okay?
She kissed his forehead and tucked the blanket under his chin. The light clicked off, and the room fell into the soft blue glow of the nightlight.
Mommy, do you think your mama would like me?
She would have adored you, Malik, more than anything. Now go to sleep, baby.
She retreated to her own bed and pulled the shoebox close. She slid out the funeral program, running her thumb over her grandmother's face. And so she sat there, the shoebox in her lap, the last light of the nightlight painting the room blue. The next morning, Samantha tucked the shoebox into her bag and took the bus to a different cemetery. One she hadn't visited in years. The headstone was modest. Renee Warren. No roses, just a name and dates that never told the whole story. She knelt on the dry grass and brushed leaves off the stone with her bare hand. Then she opened the shoebox. The letters she hadn't read yet, the ones she'd saved for this moment. She slid out a crisp envelope, the ink still sharp. Renee's handwriting had waited a long time for this.
Reads aloud. I hope you become everything you dreamed, baby girl. I love you more than I ever loved myself.
Her voice didn't break. It was steady, finally, as if she'd been preparing for this since she was 6.
I forgive you, Mama, for all of it. I wish you could see me now.
She tucked the letters into the ground beside the headstone, a small offering to a woman who'd given all she could. And when she stood, the weight of the box was gone. In its place, a quiet heft of something she could finally call peace. She rang the bell. The chime sounded different this time, less like a summons, more like a question she already had the answer to. Anthony opened the door. His eyes widened, then softened, recognizing her. She didn't speak. She took his hand, turned it palm up, and laid the locket gently on his skin. He opened the locket. Inside, the same photograph, now tiny and sealed. His breath left him in a rush.
I wanted you to have this. It was time you had one of your own.
His mouth opened, but no words came. A tear traced the groove of his cheek and disappeared into his beard.
Thank you for holding on to it for me. For 12 years.
She stepped back, giving him space. For a moment, neither moved. Then she turned and walked down the stoop, the afternoon light catching the purple of her t-shirt. Behind her, Anthony stood frozen in the doorway, the locket clutched to his chest like a stolen heartbeat. She descended the steps, her sneakers light on the old stone. At the sidewalk, she paused. Over her shoulder, the locket was a tiny silver light against his chest. She allowed herself a single nod, a thank you that needed no sound. Then she turned and walked toward the bus stop. The wallet's emptiness lighter than air. The weight she'd carried since childhood had finally been spoken out loud, and in speaking it, she'd released it. The sun found her face, and she didn't shield her eyes. She walked like someone who knew exactly where home was. Not the brownstone behind her, but the little boy waiting in their apartment. And in her pocket, nothing but a worn leather wallet, empty of cash, full of something money couldn't buy. A week later, Samantha led Malik through the same cemetery gates. This time the sun was out, and his hand was curled around a single white carnation.
Right over here, baby. This is your great-grandma, Ella. She grew roses. Lots and lots of roses.
Like the ones at the garden? The ones that smell like candy?
Exactly like those. She grew them for 40 years, and now I want you to leave one for her.
Malik stepped forward, crouched, and laid the carnation at the base of the headstone. His small fingers brushed the granite, the same way Samantha's had a week before. He didn't say anything. He just looked at the stone, at the name, and then back at his mother.
So I have a grandma and a great-grandma. In the ground?
Yeah, baby. And they both love you. Even if you can't see them, they're always with us.
They stood there, hand in hand, the carnation a small pink promise at the base of the stone. For the first time, the cemetery didn't feel like endings. It felt like a table where her family had finally been given a seat. Back in the apartment, she took the worn photograph and slid it into a simple wooden frame. Then she set it on the shelf beside the shoebox of letters, right next to Malik's toy fire truck.
Can I keep it in my room?
Let's keep it here, baby. That way we can both see it whenever we walk by.
Is that our history?
Yeah, that's our story. The whole thing is right there in that little frame.
Malik stared at the photograph, at the young woman holding the baby. He didn't fully understand, but he knew it mattered. Samantha brushed her fingers over the frame, a silent thank you to the mother who'd fought to be remembered. And the photograph, after 12 years in strangers' wallets, finally had a home of its own. That evening, over plates of mac and cheese, Malik stabbed a noodle with his fork and looked up.
Mommy, was that man your daddy? The one with the locket?
She set her fork down. The question didn't surprise her.
No, baby. He wasn't my daddy, but he was someone who tried to help me a long time ago.
Malik chewed, thinking. Then he nodded, the way kids do when the grown-up answer is simple enough to accept.
Okay.
Samantha smiled, a small curve that reached her eyes. She had spent years building a life from splintered pieces. Now, the pieces had names, faces, a place on the shelf. Outside the window, the city hummed on. Inside, her son scraped the last macaroni onto his spoon, and the photograph on the shelf caught a sliver of lamplight, as if it had always been there. Late that night, Samantha sat by the window, the framed photograph resting on the sill beside a stack of letters. City lights blinked through the rain. She watched them without really seeing. The wallet was never about the cash. It was about a photograph that had waited 12 years to be held by the right hands. Some things you find aren't meant to be kept. They're meant to bring you home. She traced the glass of the frame, her fingertip brushing her mother's face. Then she set it back on the sill and let the rain speak for her. Soft rain pattered against the glass. The frame caught the glow of a street lamp, and the photograph, after all its wandering, finally rested where it belonged. And in that quiet, she was home.